I wouldn't be surprised if you see some move there, right? Because another guest I've got on here is Latia Curry in the US, actually, and they talk to brand advocacy and brands getting momentum by the CSR, their corporate social responsibility. In the last few years, that again has become another hot topic. And we see where it backfires, right? Where brands get behind a cause, but you can tell it's kind of just to get the scene back in that cause, not necessarily authentically behind it. The second is, of course, the one you're talking to there, tangible value, right? The money, the bottom line dollars. The brand advocacy now is rising above that to some degree. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing another shift in that space, if that's been a roadblock. But how have you seen corporate social responsibility shift as well, maybe in the time that you've been operating this 7 or 8, going on 8 years or so?
Yeah, I mean, corporate social responsibility shifted in a massive way. I think, honestly, I'm more excited about what the next 10 years look like than what the last 10 years look like. Yeah. And to put that into context, I think corporate responsibility today is kind of where sustainability was at 10 years ago. And if we rewind 10 years, Tesla's just IPO'd at $1 billion. Swell, reusable water bottles and Keep cups, reusable coffee cups were kind of just starting to get started. And carbon neutral was a term that was kind of being used by early adopters. You fast forward to where we're at today, Tesla's like by far the most valuable company in the world, car company in the world. Swell and Keep cup are some of the most gifted corporate gifts that are out there. And, carbon neutrality is now, by some of the biggest companies in the world, like Apple, who've said, we've got this plan to get to zero carbon, they're showing that it's actually a core part of making profits is being responsible with the environment. And I feel like that's where, CSR is at that same tipping point that sustainability was at 10 years ago, where companies are realizing, with especially movements like Delete Uber and Me Too, for example, we're seeing that companies need to be good corporate citizens and not have toxic work cultures in order for customers to feel like they want to be a customer of that business. Yeah. And so that, we're at the start of that journey, which makes me incredibly excited to think about what the next 10 years would look like. Imagine if every business donated some portion of its profits, the world will be a very, very different place.
Completely, and I agree. Yeah, that CSR has definitely shifted. I talk about that CSR two ways: corporate social responsibility, but also community social responsibility. At an individual level, I have community social responsibility. As a larger community, we all have that. But it's kind of both sides are really being raised in profile. Part of that, I think, is the generation that's coming up that are now part of buyers, users, decision makers even. And they seem to be more on top of this, right? That's one of the reasons it seems to be. Do you find that? Are you found with the people you engage with, is it a generational thing at the level you talk to that makes an impact in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, I think that particularly we see that with new businesses that are getting created today. Everyone's building in some sort of ethical slant into that because it's seen as just the right thing to do, which certainly wasn't the case 20 years ago, for example. And so I think that that's definitely, coming from the next generation of entrepreneurs that are choosing to live by their values regardless of what they do in their life more often than not. And I think that's, a great trend. Where does it come from? In some ways it probably comes from having a bit more comfort, particularly in the Western world where, our economies have grown a lot. And so now, I guess we're seeing some evolution around, not just needing to make a profit for shareholders, but thinking about how do we kind of look after people a bit more broadly than that, which is hugely exciting, I think.
Yeah. You mentioned before, like your business model, 50% does that have an impact with companies as well? Like, do companies, when you're talking to, do they look at aligning with pure not-for-profit, for example, or pure charity versus a kind of mixed model as yours? Does that have any impact in that regard when you're dealing with and having the conversations with corporates?
Yeah, and it definitely, we talk to companies that wouldn't talk to us without that profit element, donation element built into our business model. So, it's a big part of why businesses want to put our product into their bathrooms in the first place, which is really exciting. Would we do better if we were 100% nonprofit? I'm not sure, maybe with some businesses, maybe not with others. Like it's hard to say. I think the most important thing is that, we wear our values on our sleeve. And that means we think a lot about sustainability, and all of our products are more sustainable than what you'll buy on supermarket shelves usually. But it also means the donations, how we look after our team, and everything else that comes with that. And so these corporations, when they're dealing with us, they know that that's like the full package that they're getting, and the donation element is kind of a part of the suite of the the values aligned offering that we have.